Hi, what's up guys? Welcome to Young Family in our YouTube channel. Today is May 10th, 2022. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my Epiphyllum Oxypetalum in the container because it's going to bloom. Stay tuned. So guys, check out Epiphyllum Oxypetalum plant in the container. So basically, a couple of years ago, I think 2018 or 2019, before pandemic, my friend gave me one plant. It is called Epiphyllum Oxypetalum in a small container. You can still see here, this is kind of like a blue-green container, pretty small. Actually, at that time, only like a kind of 3 or 4 leaves. Actually, it's not leaves, it's a flat branches. So basically pretty small. That time I don't have enough space, so I didn't pay attention to this plant. I just put it away. Later I put this small container on the top of this bigger container. Actually that time I still grew some other plants in this bigger container. So actually last year, I think around in August, in September, this amazing plant bloomed. But unfortunately at that time, I was busy to move into the new house, so I didn't take any pictures or shoot any videos. But right now, this plant is amazing. I want to make a specific video to talk about this plant. Just as I mentioned several years ago, this plant was still very small, but right now you can take a look at this plant. It's really big. And actually, this plant grows very fast and quickly. So basically, this plant has many different names. I think ancient name is Epiphyllum Oxypetalum. Hopefully, I pronounce correctly. So this plant Chinese name is 昙花. We have old Chinese idiom 昙花一现. That means the flowers from this plant can only bloom at night and last a very short time period. This plant so has another name, Queen of the Night or Princess of the Night. So this plant has two different types of branches. One is kind of looks like a leaf. Actually, it's not leaves. It is a branch. You can see here, very flat. This is called one kind of branch. Another kind of branch is like this one. It's very long, round, and very hard, kind of like a stick. Actually, it is called a stolon. You can see, pretty tall, right here. So basically, this one is kind of like can attach some wall or just branches, any trunk, tree trunk, so they can attach them. You can see, go all the way to the top. Here there is another one, you can see, but at the tip of this stolon, you can see it's changed to the flat. It's kind of flat branch. So on the flat branch, you can see some large. So the new leaves, you see here the new leaves, we call the new leaves or whatever is the new branches coming out from the larch. You can see here. And also the flower bud coming out from this notch. You can see here, this is a big flower bud. There's another small one right here. You can see here, this is another small one from the larch. So basically the new leaves or just a new branch, flower bud coming out from the flat, the notch. Now I'm going to talk about the soil, the light, and water for this plant. So guys, check out right here. So basically you can find this, the soil. This is kind of like used any different kinds of soil put it together. So it's pretty dry, but it's very loose. So basically this kind of plant prefer loose and well drained, the potting mix, potting soil. So basically you can use any potting mix, if you think it is kind of not good for the drainage, you can add sand, perlite, or just chopped bark to improve the water drainage. So basically, I would rather use this kind of potting mix. This is specifically for palm, cactus, and citrus, so it is good for this plant. But anyway, just I mentioned regular potting mix, you can use it. If you want to modify it, you can just add sand, bark, and perlite to improve the water drainage. It is kind of very interesting. Even though this kind of plant originally grow in the shaded area of jungle, so basically kind of they don't need a lot of sunlight. It's kind of like in some area with a high humidity, but actually it is pretty similar to the desert relatives such as cactus. So basically, I just mentioned at the beginning, I put this plant away. Actually, I didn't take care of this plant. In the past several years, I never apply any fertilizer on this plant. So, and also you can see this, the soil is pretty dry. So actually, I think this kind of plant, you do not have to water a lot. So even though a little bit dry, I think it's okay. So I don't want the soil, it's too wet, just a little bit damp. If too wet, the root system will get rot. Regarding sunlight, I think it is a little bit controversial based on the website. Some people put this plant in the house, treat it like a house plant, indoor plant. Actually, it is not good for this plant, especially for bloom. But actually, I treat this plant as outdoor plant. I always put this plant outdoor. Even though during the summertime, I still put it in the direct sunlight, exposed to direct sunlight. You can see right now it's noon, around 12 o'clock. So basically, even though this is on the north side of our building, so right now you can still see this plant exposed to the direct sunlight. I think probably a couple of hours this afternoon, they're still exposed in direct sunlight. So as you can see here, the plant is pretty healthy, very healthy. Actually, in the past several years, I told you, I didn't take good care of this plant, but they don't have any problem. They're pretty healthy, they grow very fast. So basically, I think if you expose this plant in the direct sunlight, even though in the summer should be okay, but not too many hours per day. Just as I mentioned, if you put this plant in the darkness for a long time, maybe will affect this plant bloom. Actually, if you expose this plant in the sunlight, probably it's very helpful for this plant to get blooms. Right now you can see 2 blooms right here. I'm pretty sure, confident, maybe later this plant can produce more blooms, more flower buds. We will see. Another thing I want to mention, actually just several years ago when my friend gave me this plant. I'm not sure exactly that time. He just propagated this plant using cutting. Whether it is rooted or not rooted, I'm not sure exactly. But anyway, just as I mentioned, in the past several years, it didn't bloom. My friend once asked me, hey, did your plant bloom or not? I said no. But actually, just last year, in September or just in August, it bloomed. This year, actually, in springtime, it blooms again. So based on the website, they said if you propagate this kind of plant using cuttings, usually it's going to take about at least 3 years to get a bloom. If you start from some plants with already rooted, maybe takes a little bit shorter, less than 3 years to get a bloom. Another very interesting, I once read from the website, they said if you grow this plant in a small container, when the roots bound in the pot, it might be easy for this plant to get blooms. So anyway, before I once just grow this plant in this small container, but actually in the first several years it didn't get any blooms. But anyway, right now it's pretty good. I don't want to dig out this pot from this bigger container. So right now I just temporarily keep it. Maybe later I can propagate this plant using cuttings, because my Epiphyllum Oxypetalum is going to bloom. So I'm going to keep a close eye on this plant. So definitely I'm going to update you guys if this plant is going to bloom. One of the attractive features for this plant is the bloom. Only at night. It lasts several hours. It's going to expire before dawn the next morning. In order to get more blooms from this plant, later I'm going to apply some fertilizers for this plant, especially some fertilizers with high phosphorus and high potassium, such as this fertilizers. This is called bone meal. Actually, it contains high phosphorus, but it does not contain any potassium. For potassium, I can apply monopotassium phosphorus, which contains high phosphorus and high potassium. So later I'm going to apply these two fertilizers on this plant. Hopefully I can get more blooms from this plant. Hopefully you like today's video. If you think today's video is helpful, please give us a thumb up, like, share, leave comments down below. I'm going to update you guys later. Thanks for watching. See you next time.